fact, the shuttle, it's pretty interesting. It flies and then does all sorts of things. The Soyuz, it's a little bit more rustic. You're sitting inside here. Imagine the space of 3 seats, like this, and you're there for 48 hours because you're now chasing the space station, and you need to execute what is called a rendezvous and docking, very complex maneuver, because you're now going at 28,000 kilometers per hour. This guy needs to go 28,000 kilometers per hour plus 7 centimeters per second at the moment of docking. It has to be precise 7 centimeters per second, actually 7 plus or minus 3, because if you go too fast, you're going to break everything. If you're going too slow, this mechanism will not engage into the clamp, so you need to be at that speed. It's done automatically. There are sensors here, and it's a little bit clumsy and a little bit old for our taste, but it works most of the time. In fact, as a matter of fact, you are trained to do the manual docking, and you're sitting there checking, watching everything, and if there is a little bit of a problem, poof, disengage the autopilot, engage the manual control, and you can fly in. In fact, several times, some of my colleagues had to take manual control. For us, it worked perfectly, no problem. Plane, we flew into station, and normally on station there are 6 astronauts, cosmonaut, a combination of cosmonaut and astronauts. And the thing is that there are 3 up there. Actually, there are 6. 3 leave, and then 3 new come up. These 3 have been up already for 3 months. So these are the senior crew, and then 3 new are the junior crew. And this is good, because you want to have somebody there that knows what's going on, that knows where stuff is, and so can tell you, can teach you about all of this. So we got up, and Scott was the commander of the station, American, with 2 Russians, and we 3 got up, Katie, Dimitri smiling as usual, myself, so very happy that we got up there, and we started the 3 months of Expedition 26. 3 months later, the 3 left. Ron and the 2 Russians came up. Dimitri became the commander of the station, is very happy, and Katie and I, and we started Expedition number 27. So this was good. Now, this picture was taken the day after we arrived on the station, and I'm still working to fix up my what is called the crew quarters. It's a kind of telephone booth size of place that is your personal place. You can open the door here, get inside, and you're inside this little telephone booth. You can put your sleeping bag. There is a couple of computers, a telephone. You can put your pictures, a picture of your family, your dog, whatever you want. Nobody tells you anything inside there. You have your change of clothes, whatever. This is your kingdom in there. And I thought, thank God they gave me the one on the wall, because if they would have given me the one on the roof, on the ceiling up there, I don't know how Scott can sleep up there, like a vampire or something. I mean, I thought, thank God, I'm not going to be able to sleep up there. And so when I talked to him, he looked at me like, what are you talking about? This is space. This is 0G. It doesn't really make any difference at all. You can sleep here, sleep there, sleep here. You will not even figure out. As a matter of fact, he told me, the station can turn around. Sometimes it moves for technical reasons. Usually it flies with the bottom part towards the Earth, so it follows the Earth, but not necessarily. It can turn in any other position. You will never know inside the station unless you look outside. So you need, when you go to station, there is a place that is called deck. This is called deck, but it's just a convention, because it's not a deck. You're not walking on the deck. You're working on the deck. The deck, the ceiling, everywhere there is equipment everywhere. And it takes quite some time, like 4, 5, 6 weeks, before you really get rid of this wanted to do things in the same way you have been doing it on Earth for all your life. And until you learn that, you're not efficient in microgravity. And this is a very good, long, strong, nice process. I mean, I felt every time I discovered something simple, how to drink, how to wash, how to do stuff. I mean, it was really, really, really good, as I was so frustrated because the first days, the first week, You constantly lose stuff on station, constantly. You are eating, you're not thinking, the spoon floats away. Then you're there. And of course, coming from the Earth, what do? You look for the spoon on the ground. And it's not there, and it's gone. Now you're looking like this. You're looking, what the? Or you finally find the spoon, and the can is gone. Now you're looking for the can. Where's the can? There was one day, that was funny, because I had a small camera about this size in my pocket here, and one day, gone. Floated off my pocket, which is another thing. The pocket, everything will float off. So, floated off my pocket. So I'm looking everywhere. I cannot find it. So I asked, after a couple of days of looking, I asked the other guys and said, please, can you help me in finding this camera? Because, So they looked, we looked, I swear we must have looked like everywhere for like a week, and no way we could not find it. So about 10 days later, I was about to call Houston and confess I lost the camera. Because it can get pretty weird, so you need to tell Houston what's going on. And when was I just about to say it, I get Katie coming floating with the camera. Hey, I found the camera, look, found the camera. Okay, where was it? She says, I don't know. I was in the lab and I heard, ding, turn around, there's the camera. So the camera showed up when it wanted to show up. This is what happens in space. Many times, you spend 15 minutes collecting stuff to do an experiment, and you're just about ready to do the experiment, and suddenly you are missing a screwdriver. Or you're missing a piece of the experiment. It's gone, where is it? And this is really something that you need to learn, because it's something that doesn't happen here on Earth. You miss something, it must be here somewhere. So, Katie Collman. This is a good picture, so I use this one all the time because it shows you a couple of things. First of all, don't let things go in space. She did it in purpose here to show. But it's just, in space, you don't let things go. You use Velcro. So these are patches of Velcro. Everywhere, there is Velcro everywhere on the station. If you look carefully, there's Velcro everywhere. Because anything has little pieces of Velcro. So if you're working with something, you do this, you put it there. And then, of course, at the beginning, it's very interesting because you put it there, then you don't pay attention, you float like this, then you look, I just put it there, it's not there anymore. Where is it now? And in 3 dimensions, it's very confusing because here it's obvious if I do this, this is still the floor, but not in space. If you turn around, it's like you turn the room with yourself. The floor is where your feet are. So you don't really understand that, and it's very disconcerting. So don't let things go. At the same time, look what happened to her hair. It's not that it's a special hairdo that she had in space. This is normal. The hair tend to do like that. As less obvious, you have a problem with the fluids that are usually on the lower part of the body. They tend to go up. So the first hours you go in space, you feel really bloated. In fact, your face is swollen up. You get the sensor. We have pressure sensor here on the arm. They are like sending messages to the brain, alarm, overpressure, alarm. So you go to the bathroom and pee out 2 liters of liquids that you don't need anymore. Well, you would need, but the body cannot take it. So the changes start changes the function of the body. The heart is sitting there thinking, that's so nice. I don't need to work really hard. Just pump once in a while, and the blood circulates, no problem. Yeah, but guess what? The heart is a muscle, and after a month of doing nothing, it shrinks, and then you come back to Earth, and you cannot. It doesn't pump anymore. So there is nevertheless, you throw out a couple of liter of liquids, you still have an overpressure inside your head. If you look carefully, in all the pictures, all the people have a kind of a reddish face. If you see pictures from space, you see that the astronaut looks like tanned. Well, you're not tanned. It's blood. You have a lot of blood in your face because you have an overpressure. That overpressure is inside the skull also. Your brain gets squeezed. The optical nerve gets squeezed. The eye gets squished, and it changes the size, the shape. The retina moves, and as a result, you cannot see well anymore. In fact, for me to be able to read in space, I need to have glasses, otherwise I cannot see anything. I can see, but I cannot read. So glasses all the time, and most of the people that you see in space have glasses, unless they're taking pictures, show pictures like this one. There is another very interesting thing that happened, is that the body has a mechanism, we still don't know exactly what it is, but it's a mechanism that feels there is no more gravity, so we don't need the skeleton anymore. Because the skeleton is something that we have to counteract the pull of gravity. In space, there is no gravity. The body says, very good, no more gravity, let's dismantle the skeleton. And you start with a process of dissolving the skeleton at a speed that is 10 times faster than a typical osteoporotic person on the ground. So, funny enough, make some calculations. I've lost, in 6 months in space, I lost what I would have normally lost in 10 years. So I like to say today that my skeleton is 10 years older than I am, which is interesting, but it's also interesting for the medical doctors, because now you are a perfectly normal person. You go in space and you exhibit all the problems of an osteoporotic person. Actually, you are even worse because you lose calcium really fast. So they use as a guinea pig. I did 4 different types of diet, 1 week of high salt diet, 1 week of high potassium, 1 week of high animal protein, 1 week of low animal protein, just to see, and then they measure, at the end they measure how much calcium is this guy is losing, because if I lose it 10 times faster, then it's easier to see if just changing the diet has an impact on this process. Katie, for instance, did not do any of these diets, but she took a chemical compound that is thought to interfere with this process of losing calcium. So they tested in this way. In fact, if you look carefully, she has a lot of medical device on her. She has plenty of sensors, because periodically what the scientists do, they instrument us, like machines, like robots, and then they check all these parameters just to try to measure what's going on with the body, temperature, pressure, I mean, all sorts of parameters like this. So here I am with my glasses, by the way, working with a microscope. We had 21 little containers, and each one of them had a special culture. We had tumor cells, cancer cells, we had animal cells, internal organ cells. I mean, cells that were growing, they were moving in space. And so the scientists, using this microscope, were looking at them and see how gravity or microgravity influence their growth. By the way, in space station, we are in an environment that is also has a high radiation environment. So they were checking what this, if there's any change or anything impact because of this high radiation environment. I'm going really fast. I'm giving you some examples of things that we have been doing in the scientific field, technological field, and educational field, which were the 3 main fields of investigation we did in space. This is another interesting one. It's an experiment that actually measures how the brain is evolving or changing in space. Because now you are a perfectly healthy guy or a person, and you go in space, and the environment around you has changed so much, and the result is that essentially you are disabled, you are handicapped. Here on Earth, if somebody has an accident or a stroke, loses a part of the body, loses an arm, a leg, an eye, then you need to learn to live with these less resources. And we can do it. I mean, people without an arm live their life. It takes them 6 months or a year to learn how to tie their lace or shave or something, but they work. But it takes time. There is a process there. The brain has to rewire itself. And this is the same. You are there, things don't work anymore the same way. You cannot let things go. You let things go, they are gone. You know, you cannot drink in the same way. You cannot eat. You cannot shower. I mean, so a lot of things that you need to learn, and your brain is in overdrive. And so they are measuring, see what kind of mechanism the brain is using to change the situation and to come up with some algorithm and then use the same techniques on the ground. This is a technological experiment. Don't have much time to go into detail, but water, liquids, fluids, metals all work in a different way when we remove gravity. It's not that they work in a different way, it's that when you remove gravity, which is an overwhelming force, you are then able to see little other forces that are there, but on Earth they cannot play a big role because gravity squashes everything else. So there, instead, these little things take priority, and you can measure them, and you come up with really, really interesting things that scientists can look at. Like, for example, Katie was working here preparing one of the facilities that we have on board. This is a furnace. It's able to melt little pieces of metals. So you can take 2 pieces of metals, make some alloys, and then measure them. So it's very interesting work that, microgravity for metallurgy, it's very, very important. So we have furnaces and other equipment that is able to do this. I was doing educational experiment here, growing little plants and having students on the ground doing the same thing. So we were comparing observations as we were doing, for example, while using some of the activities on board to try to make people look at things in a different way. For example, this was called Mission X, Train Like an Astronaut. The idea or the point came for an observation that's been made in the United States. Today in the United States, the majority of the kids are overweight, if not obese. The problem is that, they try to figure out why, and one of the results is that kids today do not eat properly, especially in the United States. Just go to the fridge and get whatever it is. A lot of sugar, a lot of calories, a lot of sweets, a lot of pop sodas and things like that. And then they do not do a lot of physical movement. Once upon a time they used to go out and run. Now they stay home, play with computers, video games, watch TV. Therefore, the result is that they are obese. The result is that they have diabetes and blah, blah, blah. Today, in the United States, the kids have a life expectancy that is lower, in the average, is lower than their parents, which never happened. It's the first time that this happens. So they're trying to figure out, what should we do? So the idea here is to tell the kids, schools, let's try to emulate astronauts. Astronauts in space have really to watch out what they are eating and what they are doing in terms of physical fitness. We do 2 hours per day of physical fitness, 1 hour to make our heart beating hard, in a cycle, in a bicycle, or in a treadmill. Of course, these are treadmill, but adapted to space. You need to be tied down, otherwise, as soon as you take your first step, you hit your head on the ceiling. This one also, you need to be tied down on the bike. Actually, we do this only at the beginning. Then you learn how to go on a bike. It's like learning, for example, learning how to go on a bike. Seems easy. Yeah, you jump in this bike in space, and you don't tie yourself. And the first time, what you do, you flip around and hit your head there. Because there's nothing, and you're just pedaling, and the result is that you go forward. So it takes a little bit of and then after a while, you can remove your training wheels, and you can start going in a bicycle again. So we do an hour of cardiovascular thing and an hour of weight training in space. Now it's a weightless environment, and we do weight training. That's an interesting thing. So it has to have this pretty complicated piece of equipment that allows you actually to do weight training. You do a lot of exercise, like this one, for example. You actually put stress on your spine. The spine in space distends, elongates. I grew about 8 centimeters in space, but then all the discs are kind of stretched out. The muscles are pulled, the tendons are different. Some people suffer outrageous back pain, for example. I was lucky not in none of this, but some have really strong back pain. So you're sitting there and you're trying to squeeze again. You're trying to put load on your legs. By the way, look at the chicken legs that we call them. Even here, see the blood goes up. You get this, what they call chicken legs. And that's it. So we really do another hour of physical fitness here. By the way, here, this picture is interesting. This is called Node 3. It's mostly a service module. It has a treadmill, vertical like this. By the way, this is the deck. So you are running with your feet there, like this. This is the toilet. So see the outhouse is the toilet. So you go to the toilet like this. You know, toilet is sitting here. That is that piece of equipment where I was exercising, like that. So sometimes you are there and you see people in all sort of position doing their job, and it's very disconcerting at the beginning. Your brain starts, oh, I don't want to see this. And then after a while you get used to it. It's absolutely normal. You know, you go there, spin upside down and do your thing, and it's not a problem. So what else? We did a lot of things with the ham radio guys. They allowed us using some equipment to talk to the ground to schools. So we talked to 77 schools. We did the record for the space station mission. But look at the puffy face. You see the eyes kind of puffy and everything. And then, you know, we used the cupola. The cupola is this module built in Europe, by the way, in Italy, but built in Europe, European Space Agency. Well, it was built in Italy, but it's not Italian. As the Node 3, for example, also that one was built in Italy, but it's European Space Agency. And though you're sitting there, the Earth is down here passing at 7 kilometers per second. That module was not built for the purpose of letting us enjoy the view, even though we do. It was built because it contains inside a station with joysticks that allow you to control, to maneuver the remote manipulator arm, the robotics arm. This arm is a Canadian contribution to the station. It's 25 meters long, very interesting. It has a kind of a hand here. Then it has a joint like a wrist. There's an elbow. But then on the other side, instead of a shoulder, has another joint as a wrist and another hand. So if this is only 20 meters long, station is 100 meters. If I want to go down there working, I'll take this, connect there, detach that, and that becomes my hand now. So I can walk, then click another time, and then I can walk, click, and then when I am where I need to work, I keep maneuvering there. Very interesting technology. So in this case, we were grappling a Japanese spacecraft, a supply ship. This is not a little thing. This is a double-decker, 12 meters long, 5 meters wide, 20 tons. So we grapple it, but you need to be careful because if you make a mistake and you hit it, this is going to roll off and go towards the ocean. Then, it's not good because if you don't have your food for the next couple of months, it's a problem. But we got it, and then we took it inside. I mean, we attached it to the station, and then we could go inside and get all the stuff. They had some other exposed facility things in there. Very nice supply ship.